Welcome back. Let's talk about predicting the Winnipeg Jets offseason. Now, this is a new series that I'll be shooting in reverse alphabetical order for all 31 NHL teams. And I'll be talking about UFAs, RFAs, and maybe who they should even be looking at in the free agent market to plug some holes. Now, the cap's going to be at $81.5 million. It's going to be stagnant for next year and maybe even a couple of years after. So a lot of teams might be moving quite a few pieces in trades as well. The Jets' projected cap hit for next season is just under $66 million. So that means they have around $16 million to play with. So let's start with their goaltending and Laurent Brossoit, their backup, who is 27 years old. He made just over $1.2 million last season, and he stank. He had under a .900 save percentage. But the year before that, he was amazing. It was like a .925. And he's very similar to Anderson from Ottawa in this respect, that he's like, good year, bad year, good year, bad year. Next year might be a good one. And the players know this, that there's a stagnant cap. They know money's going to be hard to get a hold of, especially the bottom-feeding players. Maybe you take another swing at Brossoit for, maybe around league min. If he'll take like a $500,000 give or take dollar haircut, why not? And maybe invest some of that money into some better D, a second line center, for Christ's sake, that they just can't seem to lock down. Now, we'll get into all that later. But if they do decide to go to the UFA market and look at goaltenders, there's a plethora of them available right now. Now, we all know Hellbuck's their man, so they're not looking at a Holtby or a Crawford or Leonard or Markstrom. But if they want to pay a little bit more and look at it like maybe a 1A, 1B sort of situation, there's Thomas Greiss, who's available. Anton Hudobin would be a nice fill-in there as well. Even Cam Talbot, although I think he's looking for 35-ish kind of games. I don't know if he gets that with Hellbuck in that, but that's a possibility. And if they're willing, for a little bit cheaper, they could even go the Aaron Dell venue, former San Jose Shark there, who's had some good seasons. This one wasn't great for him, but he finished off well, and I think he played more than Jones this year as well. Don't quote me on that. Let's move on to defense. And let's talk about, starting with Dmitry Kulikov, their 29-year-old left-shot defenseman. Usually he's on that second pairing. He's walking. He was making just over $4.3 million. Way too much for the kind of production he was putting out. Unless he takes like 1/3 of that, I don't see Winnipeg re-signing that guy at all. And then there's depth defenseman Nathan Beaulieu, a left shot, and Dylan DeMello, a right shot, both 27 years old and making next to nothing. They're UFAs, $1 million and $900,000 respectively. Nathan Beaulieu, I think they really want to keep both of them. Beaulieu has really blossomed in Winnipeg as a defensive D. Depth guy. If they can get away with him for around the same price, I would think they could do that. Dylan DeMello might demand a little bit more, closer to, dare I say, $3 million or so dollars. Maybe a hair under that, I don't know. But he was a valuable guy for him. He was a good addition to the team. Then there's an RFA in Sami Niku, the 23-year-old right shot defenseman. He probably has a higher ceiling, we'd like to think anyways. Perhaps I would think they'd sign him to a team-friendly bridge deal there for, 2 years-ish, maybe even a year. I think a lot of guys will be signing for a year, 2 years in this offseason and the next. And then who else we have? Sabiza, Bieto, they're UFAs. I don't see them coming back. But if we were to look at the UFA market, the defensemen look pretty good. There's a lot of guys available, but the Jets need some offense from their defense, don't they? I mean, Pionk was their highest scoring D with 45 points. Morrissey was next with 31, and then after that it drops off to a cliff. So they need someone with some offense on the defense side. And I think, I mean, everyone wants, Pietrangelo. But what about Tyson Barrie? He had a bad year with Toronto, still had around 39 points. He could potentially be even a 60-point guy with the right team, the right chemistry. He played well with Colorado for all those years. He wanted $8 million, but that's not happening. I think it'll be closer to 6, maybe even 5. That's a possibility. There's Torrey Krug. He'll be expensive, though. But, wow, wouldn't their power play just take off just with that right ingredient? He's amazing on the PP. Winnipeg's was 15th during the regular season and kind of sucked in the playoffs, but with Scheifele and Laine hurt, you got to give him a break. Other defensemen I could see, Sami Vatanen, they can get him for a better price. TJ Brody, Travis Harmonic, both those guys are available. They could put up anywhere between 20 to 35 points-ish area. Sami Vatanen, did I mention him already? He could be a good fit there, former Carolina Hurricane. Then there's maybe Andy Green for super cheap. I know he's, Gandalf old, 37, but a veteran on a young blue line could really help bring the group together if they take a swing and a miss on some of those other guys. Even so, Vatanen should be cheap. So there's that. So yeah, those are, I think, they're mine. Let's look at the forward bunch right now. Now, the first UFA I'm looking at is Cody Eakin, who's brought in from that trade from Vegas. Now, he's a local. He was supposed to fill in that second-line center spot, and he's not. He's a third-line center, third-liner. And, but the problem is the UFA market doesn't have a lot of centers, a lot of really good ones, half-decent ones maybe, but I don't know. If he takes a bit of a haircut, maybe around $3 million, $800,000 less-ish than he's making right now, 3.85. I think they try and make that work. Then there's Jack Roslovic and Jansen Harkins, both 23 years old, RFAs. I could see bridge deals happening right there. Those guys probably have a higher ceiling with them as well. Nick Shore's going to walk. He was their fourth line D. Mason Appleton, 24-year-old, plays center and the wing. He got injured the first game of the playoffs too, his shoulder. I could see them bridging him as well, inexpensively. And there's some other guys, Shaw, Letisu, Bork, Ho-Hum. But then there's Brian Little, who's on the IR right now. And when he did play, because he's been injured, when he did play, he put up some decent numbers. He was a good player. Problem is, Brian Little's getting up there now. He's 32. And he's got him signed for 4 more years at just over $5.2 million. That's just too much money for this guy right now. And I mean, he got injured in November, slap shot to the head / ear. They had to reconstruct his eardrum or something, 30-something stitches, out for the entire season. He wasn't in the playoffs. Is he going to play next season? Maybe. Might he even retire? I don't know. If they could bring Cody Eakin back at a cheap price, go out and get a UFA second-line center, maybe push Brian Little down the fourth-line center or, third-line winger or something. I know that's expensive for a guy to play at that position, but you do what you got to do unless they trade him, try and dump him and give away a first-rounder for him or something. But anyways, let's take a look at some of the UFA centermen that are available. It's not a deep crop, as I mentioned earlier. But there's some possibilities here. I mean, the best ones, Granlund. Yeah, Michael Granlund, formerly Nashville Predators. He had 17 goals. Possibly he could be a fit there. Maybe the Finnish connection. Him and Laine could be going on. He's, how old is he? He's 28 years old. He's a bit up there. Maybe Carl Soderberg could be an option for them as well. They could get him probably for a decent price. He's up there, though, in age. He's 34. He did had 17 goals again, 35 points. Who else here? Eric Holla is an interesting guy because on his first year with Vegas, before he got traded, he had a terrific season. And then he got injured, and then they traded him to the Carolina Hurricanes, and then he went to the Florida Panthers. Now, he's 29 years old. He's up there, and he only had 24 points in 48 games this season, but I believe he could give more. Maybe he's worth an experiment at that position at a good price. So there's that. After that, there isn't much to look at, really. You're mostly they're just third and fourth line center guys, and one could argue that's what Haula, Soderberg, and even Granlund is. But hey, you do with what you can. That's it. That's all. I think I covered everything there. Now, the Winnipeg Jets, when it comes to draft picks, have their first, their second, their fifth, and their sixth this coming season. And they do have some interesting players coming up as prospects. Vinny Heinola and Dylan Sandberg, both of those guys are defensemen. Left shot, by the way. Heinola's 18, Sandberg's 21. Especially Sandberg, I could see him getting a shot in training camp. Will they make it? I don't know. Maybe the Jets will wait till after that happens. Who knows? Maybe Vesalainen, 20-year-old right winger, might see a little bit of action as well. 6'4", 228 pounds. Holy cow! Just to name a few. But I would love to hear from you, Winnipeg Jets fans, especially down in the comment section below, what your offseason think is going to look like. Who do you think they're going to resign when it comes to UFA, RFAs, and even in the open market as well? Please be kind to each other out there. Don't forget, my next video will be about the Washington Capitals, and I will see you soon.